What's going on YouTube? This is Shok, and right off the bat, apologize for the mic quality. Wasn't as good as I thought it'd be. I'm gonna have to go get my old one back. Eventually I need to get a snowball or whatever it's called. But yeah, this is a movie review I'm doing on my channel, and I've honestly always wanted to start incorporating movies into my channel, but I've just never really gotten around to it. And I've meant to do this video like a week ago, just never really had the time. Lots of things been happening going on. But I wouldn't even say this is more so a review. It's more so an analysis of the movie and what's fundamentally wrong. Fundamentally, let me use this word, objectively wrong with this movie, because I'm not necessarily going to be talking opinions in this video. I'm not. But let me just go ahead and go ahead and put this out there. If you liked this movie, that's fine. That's fine. I could understand why. If you don't care about anything, if you don't care about consistency, if you don't care about, actual good storyline and writing, all you want to do is just see a Star Wars movie. Does it have good actors? Does it have good cinematography? Does it have action? I can understand why you would like the movie, whatever. And the movie did have really good cinematography. Of course, the actors are great. That's without a doubt. Um, it was a quality movie in terms of production value, of course, right? Nothing really looked cheap. None of the acting was awful or awkward or anything like that. It's a very high end, one of the highest end movies you could pretty much possibly watch. It's Star Wars, right? Always been big budgeted, and now it's backed by Disney. Um, but for those of us who are actually a lot more attentive to storyline and the script and writing, fundamentally and objectively, this movie was pretty bad. It was. And again, if you like the movie, that's fine. I didn't like it, but I can see why you would like it. But I also hope that for those of you who do like it, you're able to understand and agree with these points I'm about to present, because there was a few things a few things that were wrong with this movie, but they were pretty big, huge, significant things. And I'm going to be listing some things that you guys cannot deny. One, Finn and Rose were largely pointless to the plot of the movie. They were significant characters in it. Most of the screen time was on them, maybe half of it, or maybe a whole third, a little over a third, whatever. But the main premise of the movie was them going off to that casino planet, right? Getting the code breaker so they can get into General Hawks's ship and disable the tracker, right? Or Snoke's or whatever, right? That was the whole premise of the movie. The whole fate of the Resistance, aka the hope of the universe, was relying on Finn and Rose going to that planet. But after everything they went through, it didn't matter. And by the end of the movie, if you think about it, you could remove Finn and Rose from the movie, and what happened in the movie wouldn't be impacted at all. They were actually completely irrelevant to the events that took place in the movie. You could remove them, and the movie could have ended up exactly the same way. That's number one. Number two, there's a lot of inconsistencies in this movie when it comes to the themes that it presented. I'll get to this later though, but this is going to be another thing no one is ever going to be able to deny, but I'll talk about it later when I get in depth with it. And then number three, and the last thing, and this is very huge when you think about, the last movie, Seven. This movie leaves absolutely no setup whatsoever. No anticipation. The last scenes lead to nothing. See, in the last movie, we had Rey, hand the lightsaber to Luke. Oh my gosh, she found Luke. Holy crap, is he gonna train her? We had that whole anticipation going on. You're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen next? I'm so excited. This movie had none of that. We all know how in episodic movies, when something ends, you're like, oh my god, I can't wait till the next one. Holy crap, we've gotten this in the Harry Potters. We even got this in, the Hunger Game movies, right? Like, oh my god, they bombed District 11, and then Katniss is like upset at the end, of like, oh holy crap, she's gonna go in the next movie or whatever. Turned out that movie was crap. But anyways, you see what you see what I'm saying? Like, but there was none of that. This movie ends on a kid using the Force to grab a broom. Like, and the resistance just goes off in the Falcon, and it's like, okay, what's next? What did you leave me to look forward to in the next movie? So that's the third thing you guys cannot deny. The setup for this movie is terrible. Well, I won't even say the setup is terrible. It's non-existent. It wasn't there. There is no setup for the last movie. The movie does not leave you with a central idea that you could think about, anticipate, or look forward to in the next, like Seven did. A lot of people said Seven was bad. A lot of people said Seven was good. Regardless of what you thought about Seven, one thing we can all agree on is that Seven left you with a proper ending. It left you with a very interesting ending, a thought provoking ending. I can't wait to see the next movie ending, which is what episodic movies are supposed to do. And this movie didn't do that at all. But going on with those 3 points I just presented that no one who enjoyed the movie are able to deny. Let me go into depth if you guys don't understand why I listed those things and why those things are objectively true and facts and undeniable. So again, the whole central plot is Finn, and I mean outside of Rey and Luke, of course, but we're talking about the main focus was on the Resistance itself, right? That was the whole thing. The whole concept of the movie was the Resistance is on the run. They're low on fuel, which by the way, and again, bad storytelling and bad scripting, bad writing are the problems with this movie. Are the reason why this movie is not that great. And this is one of the examples, right? It starts off with the First Order blowing up the Resistance base, and they just left the base. So one, how were they low on fuel when they just left their base? That doesn't make sense. So that's forced conflict right there. Like they're low on fuel just cause, literally just cause. You know what I mean? So one, but that's not even like my biggest gripe about it. But again, they send Finn and Rose, this new character, to the casino planet to get the code breaker so they can save the Resistance, right? And they spend all this time and they go through all these things, and it ended up not meaning anything. But also during that time, they kind of introduced this weird theme of the rich cashing in on the war, and I don't know, it was just kind of a really weird political thing, political concept to kind of introduce in the middle of this Star Wars movie when it had nothing to do with who's supporting the First Order and who's not. Like, it had nothing to do with that. But they throw in this weird theme of, oh, look, these rich people are rich because they're supplying the Resistance, right? And then again, the Resistance is relying on Finn and Rose, right? Though the fate of the universe was essentially on their shoulders, if you think about it. But they go through this very Disney-esque sequence of running around the city once they escape on these animals, and the animals are like they crushed a few cars, or whatever, broke a few windows, jumped through a couple walls, and at the end of the chase, they think they're about to get caught, and Rose is like, "Well, it was worth it all," and Finn's like, "Yeah, we really stuck it to those rich people." No, like you guys, people's lives are on the line. The universes, the galaxy's fate is resting on your guys' shoulders. It depends on you guys finding the code breaker. But you smash up a couple cars while riding on these animals' backs, and you guys think you're about to get caught, and you're saying that it's all worth it, and you're satisfied with the results because you broke a few cars? That's a rich people owned? You see what I'm saying? Like, it was just a very kind of strange, just kind of off topic political idea they decided to just introduce, and they kind of try to center rows around it, and it just seemed really out of place and just weird and awkward. And at the end of the day, none of that ended up mattering. They get another code breaker, which really huge cliche of the whole characters get captured, but they meet the person that they need while they're captured, or someone else that they need. The characters go into a jail cell and they're talking the exposition, and then one of the characters, he has his back turned to the wall. So did I hear you guys say you need a insert? I could do that for you. I'm that guy. Such a cliche, by the way. And again, there's nothing wrong with tropes and cliches as long as they're implemented correctly or they fit it. That's not a cliche I think really fits the Star Wars franchise, nor is the cliche of characters about to get executed, but something's about to save them cliche, which was another thing of just very obvious and blatant, Disney influence, as well as the whole scene going through the city on the backs of the animals. Like that was such a Disney scene, you know. It didn't feel like I was in a Star Wars movie at all. It felt like I was watching Wally or Up or something like that. It was it was very reminiscent of things I would expect to see in Disney animated films. You know what I mean? Um, just way too. I know it sounds weird to say it as a bad thing, but it just felt way too fun and lighthearted. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, we're going to escape on these animals that Rose said that she never saw one, and of course, you knew it was going to end up that way. Like, like, oh, they're abusing these animals and they're rich, and I love these animals, and just it was just really weird, forced, and out of place. Um, but yeah, and then towards the end, and this is one of the huge major problems with this movie. Again, bad storyline, bad writing. Rose has this whole thing of we're not going to win by killing what we hate, but by saving what we love thing, which stupid sentence, by the way, because it's like you're not going to win without killing the First Order. You have to kill them. You're right. They are going to keep chasing you and killing you until you are completely and utterly wiped out. There is no, we're not going to kill what we hate in order to save the galaxy. You have to. You have to. But Finn goes to sacrifice himself by ramming his ship into the barrel of the heat battering ram or whatever, which I was nodding my head at that part. I was nodding my head at that scene, right? I was like, okay, Finn's going to go out and save himself, and I'm okay with this conclusion. I'm okay with him dying because, one, actually gives him a freaking purpose in this movie, right? Because prior to that moment, nothing he did in the movie actually mattered. So I was like, okay, this will give him a purpose. He's gonna go out with a bang, and it's also just a really good conclusion to his character arc because in the first movie, in the beginning of this movie, he was always trying to run away from the resistance. He was just trying to run away from everything, just go off and save his own skin, right? He was just trying to get away from the First Order and all that business entirely. All he was doing was looking out for himself and also Rey, and that's all he freaking cared about. But towards the end of the movie, we see him, ready to give up his life to save the resistance. So it's like, oh, okay, Finn is actually down for the cause now. Wow, that was a really good character development, really good, conclusion to this character. But then they squander the one opportunity Finn had in that movie to be relevant to the movie, to impact the movie in any type of way or sense, and they squander it when Rose knocks him out of the way and saves him. And then they do the most forced thing I've ever seen in recent movies, in recent movie history. The whole love thing. Rose pretty much implies that she loves Finn when she says by saving what we love, and then she kisses him and then goes unconscious. And that just, of course, I don't even have to like talk much about this scene because even for those of you who enjoy this movie, I'm sure you guys know and agree that that was just completely stupid and forced. Came out of nowhere. There were no implications whatsoever that Rose was into Finn. They literally made it up right there, just on the spot. Like, whoa, where did that come from? Type thing. But it also just completely irrelevantizes, not a real word, the character of Rose entirely because the her line of we're gonna win by not killing what we hate but saying what we love, that's kind of like generally the whole encompassing of her character type thing. But the stupid thing about that is that her theme is stupid, therefore the character is stupid, and the character is completely pointless. But the dumbest thing about her saying it then is the fact that Finn was trying to save what he loved. And he wasn't even going to kill anybody, right? Because it's not like that was a machine they operated from the inside, right? That's just something they drug along, and it's just a gun. That's all it is. It's a gun. It's a little cannon, little heat cannon thing. And he was just going to crash into it. So he was going to sacrifice himself to save the resistance, to save Rey. Finn was trying to save what he loved, but Rose stopped him. And then she said, we're going to save what we love. That's exactly what Finn was trying to do. So not only did they completely kill any hope of Rose being a redeemable or good character in that movie with that scene, but they also completely made Finn's entire existence in that movie irrelevant as well, because that was the one thing he could have done in that movie that would have made him relevant, that would have made him being in the movie actually matter. But they completely squandered that opportunity. And that's another thing about this movie. Another reason why it's not so great is because there's so many there's so many missed opportunities in this movie, but I'll get to that later. So that's one. And not to mention the whole overarching idea of the resistance is running out of fuel. It just didn't really seem like a concept that is viable or good enough for a mainline Star Wars film, right? Or even a spin-off, really. Like it feels more like a story that they would put in an episode of a TV series. You know what I mean? Like in this episode of Star Wars, the Resistance is running out of fuel with the First Order hot in their tail. Will Finn and Rose get back on time to save the Resistance? Find out on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. You see what I mean? It sounds exactly like something you would hear, or it sounds like a story arc you would get out of a episode in a television series, not a movie. I'm sorry, but putting a whole mainline Star Wars movie, creating it around this concept of the resistance is running out of fuel, and the whole time they're just slowly trying to crawl away from them and keep their distance while the First Order is like, chipping away at them. It just didn't make for an interesting overlying idea and concept in the first place. See what I mean? So just very, very weak storyline arc and telling and just script, just all together. Like I don't get it. Another huge contradiction this movie has, and an inconsistency it has in its script and storytelling, was Kylo Ren and his idea of screw the First Order, screw the Resistance, let's do our own thing, let go of the past. Is his exact words. And by the way, let me just start off by saying, I loved Kylo Ren in this movie. I loved Kylo Ren, and I actually liked Rey too. I didn't like her too much in the first movie, but I like her in this movie. Let me talk about some good things, right? I liked Kylo Ren and I liked Rey. I like their character developments, and I love their interactions together. The best parts of the movie is when those two were on screen together. The throne room was one of the best scenes in Star Wars history. It was freaking amazing. It was epic, as well as the lightspeed scene, the kamikaze lightspeed. But those two things just weren't enough to, save the film. Let me just go ahead and put that out there. Um, but yeah, I love their whole dynamic and everything. I loved Kylo Ren in this movie, and I also loved the exploration that Rey did with Luke, on the planet. I like how they kind of introduced some like gray ideas, right? Luke was like, to think the Force belongs to the Jedi is vanity. And for people who haven't paid attention to any of the games or movies, not movies, comic books and animated shows, stuff like that, casual Star Wars fans who only watch the movies, the idea that the Jedi are not, the good guys or the Force doesn't belong to them hasn't really been ever introduced or even hinted at or really discussed like that. And Luke was saying like to think the Jedi are just, these saints and the Force belongs to us and the Force is only right in our hands is vanity. I like that. So I like the exploration they did. They kind of went more in depth with the Force. He told her to reach out and she felt all these things. He was pretty much saying, yeah, it's the fiber of existence. It's everything all around us. It was just, you know, it was just really good, smart discussion and analysis of the Force. And it made a lot of people who weren't into all the, side material, right? Like the comics and all that stuff, it gave them a better idea of what exactly the Force is, right? And the balance and all that stuff. So I did like those things. But anyways, kind of got off topic there. Yeah, but Kylo says, screw the First Order, screw the Resistance. We're gonna go off and do our own thing, right? But then when he gets knocked out when they rip the saber in half and Hawks is there and he wakes up, he proceeds to just continue doing what the First Order was doing anyways. So it's like they presented another theme that they completely contradict. The first one being we're going to, save what we love and not by, we're not going to win by killing what we hate type thing. Contradicted that literally within seconds. And then they contradicted Kylo's whole thing in the very next scene. Join me, Rey. We're going to leave everything behind. Forget the First Order, forget Snoke, forget the Resistance and Leia, all this crap. Let's start our own thing. We're going to rule the universe together with our own new thing. But then he wakes up and is like, you know what? I'm just going to take over the First Order. I'm just going to continue what I'm doing anyways. If Kylo died and Snoke was still alive, the movie would have ended the same. If um Kylo died and Snoke died and it was General Hawks would have proceeded to go on and do the same thing, and the movie would have pretty much ended up the same way. You see what I'm saying? So they present this idea, and when Kylo said that, I was like, okay, yeah, this is cool because Star Wars has never really gotten out of that groove of good versus evil, right? Jedi versus Sith, and Resistance versus Empire, right? And you have characters on this side, you have characters on that side, and this is really the first time. Um, the concept of sides or and black and whiteness has really been challenged in a Star Wars film, and that's something I did enjoy about this film. But they go ahead and introduce that interesting concept and that interesting idea, that interesting talking point, and then they just throw it out the window. It's like, oh, forget it. So it's like they give you something, they tease you, they dangle it a little bit, they give you something interesting, and then the character's like, nah, forget that concept. It's like, why? That would have been so interesting. That would have been so good if Kylo did say screw the First Order and left them or something, or started his own new thing, or took them into a different direction, or something, right? But he says screw the First Order, but then proceeds to do what they were doing anyways. It didn't make sense. Just inconsistency in the storyline and writing. It just did not make sense at all. Another really forced plot conflict. I forgot her name, but the purple hair general, right? There is no reason for her to not tell Finn what the whole idea was, because they try to do a lot of character development for Finn, and I thought Finn was definitely one of the better characters in this movie. I like Finn a lot as a character. I like him inside or outside of the ship. I think he's a great character. He's one of my favorites. But they go through this whole story arc of him, respecting authority and stuff like that, but they kind of diminish the impact or the ability to appreciate that whole character development when it's like, well, I mean, of course he would react that way because you didn't let him know what's going on. Even if she didn't want to tell him the exact plan, she should have just said, trust me, I'm working on something. I have something in the works, instead of just saying, we're just going to keep cruising, keep cruising. Of course, that's going to make people flip out and worry and start a mutiny, right? So the her just not telling Finn what was going on, like that was just kind of, again, a way to just force conflict. The same way the whole premise of the movie is forced conflict, because the movie starts off with the First Order blowing up the rebel base, and somehow the rebels are low on fuel. How are they low on fuel when they just left their base? It doesn't make sense. So a lot of things in this movie were forced, especially the whole Rose Finn romance thing. Just whole codebreaker plot point was just completely pointless, didn't matter. And then the end, no anticipation for the next movie whatsoever. Now, a lot of people said episode 7 was good, a lot of people said episode 7 was bad, a lot of people said it was in between, it was okay, whatever. Regardless of what any of us think about episode 7, one thing we can definitely agree on is that episode 7 set up for anticipation. Episode 7 ended with a holy crap, I can't wait to see what happens in the next movie. What's going to happen? Oh crap, he's going to teach Rey. This is going to be great. The Jedi Order is possibly going to be back. Or, oh man, is he going to reject her? Is he not going to teach her? I can't wait to see what happens next, right? 7 set that up, and any good, episodic series does that, right? Like I've said this before, Harry Potter movies have left it that way. The Hunger Games have left it that way. Katniss, they blew up District 11, and then you see this pissed off face on Katniss, and she seems determined. So like, oh, holy crap, Katniss is gonna go destroy these fools. Right? She's gonna go destroy the Capitol. End up being crap 2 ending movies, in my opinion. But besides the point, I'm just making the point that in all these other, movies that have series, they usually leave with some idea that will leave the audience thinking, some central theme that will, give them something to look forward to, right? Something to anticipate. This movie doesn't do that at all. It ends with the Resistance flies off in the Millennium Falcon, okay, and then this little kid force pulls a broom to him, and that's the end of the movie. It's like, what are we looking forward to? What idea did you present that's going to make us giddy about the next movie? Absolutely nothing. And for any of you who enjoy this movie, you cannot deny that. You cannot deny that the movie leaves you with no anticipation for the next. Of course, we could be anticipated for the sole fact that we know there will be a next one. We can be excited for it just because it is a Star Wars movie and we're Star Wars fans, but we're not excited for it or looking forward to it because of what 7 did. It's not because of anything 7 set up, because not 7, excuse me. It's not because of what 8 set up, because 8 set up nothing. It set up nothing. Nothing at all. It doesn't leave us with any interesting idea, any interesting concept, anything we can theorize about, like nothing. There's nothing there. So whatever they're going to come up with episode 9 is pretty much going to be a clean slate. It's going to be a story they kind of just make up off the bat. Kind of like how they did with this one, with episode 8, because the whole running out of fuel thing, at the end of episode 7, maybe I missed something, but at the end of episode 7, I thought the Resistance was in pretty good shape. You know what I mean? And this takes place immediately after 7, but they seem to have a lot of ships. They seem to have a large fleet. They blew up their super weapon. They flew off safely. The resistance was looking pretty good. And then we go to the very next movie, and all of a sudden they're on food stamps, right? It's like, well, where did they go? Where did the resistance go? This takes place immediately after, right? It had to, because Finn woke up. So, this was like, let's say he was knocked out for 2 weeks. Like, surely the resistance wasn't diminished down to those little numbers within 2 weeks, right? And the movie didn't imply that at all. They didn't say any previous battles happened between the events of 7 and 8, like nothing like that. But at the end of 7, the resistance seemed in pretty good shape, and then 8 comes, and all of a sudden they're on welfare. It's like, how? When did that happen? You know what I mean? Like, it just, and that's really just really bad, really bad, inconsistent story writing. I'm sorry, really bad storyline. Objectively, guys, this was a bad movie. Objectively, and story wise, this was definitely a bad movie, and I do not think that could be denied. Again, I'm not saying there's no way you can't like this movie. I'm not one of those people. You can like what you like, that's fine. And again, I said I can understand why you like it, because some people have higher standards than others. Some people just want to see an entertaining movie, and that's it. Is it flashy? Does it have characters I can have fun with? Will there be reaction? That's all I care about. If you're one of those people, I got you. I get it. All I'm saying is, for those of you who are like hardcore defending it, you can't. You can't. You can like something and not defend it. You can like something, you can love something, but still be like, oh yeah, all those flaws are true. It just didn't bother me. That's cool, right? But just don't deny that those problems were there, is all I'm saying. You know what I mean? So I think that's pretty much everything I want to discuss with this movie. Very disappointing. It was exactly, and this has been one of the few times where everything I was hearing about the movie was absolutely true. All my friends were saying, well, most of them, and a lot of people on my newsfeed on Facebook, whatever, was like, it's not that it was like horrible, but it was just like really bad and inconsistent, and like there's this stupid. They just introduced a lot of stupid ideas and useless characters, and then half of what happened in the movie didn't matter. And when I went to go see that movie, all those things were absolutely true. I was like, holy crap, this is one of the few times where like the internet is actually right. The internet was actually spot on about this movie. I was surprised. But yeah, they were absolutely right. And I was so disappointed in this movie, and it's just one of the worst written movies I've ever seen of all time. Again, the highlights were definitely the throne room scene and the lightspeed sacrifice scene. Those were great. And by the way, I forgot to mention, I also forgot to talk about Leia. The whole Kryptonian scene, even if you guys would say, well, it makes sense because she's still strong in the Force. Don't forget, she's Anakin's son and Luke's sister. I get that, whatever. But even if we want to excuse the fact that Leia uses the Force out of nowhere, which has never really happened. I mean, she's been able to sense things, but she's never Force pushed or pulled or anything like that, right? But even if we want to just ignore that fact entirely, just the way they executed was bad, right? Just the way it looked was goofy. So either way you slice it, that scene was bad. Even if we want to excuse the whole somehow the Force allowed her to survive the vacuum of space, and somehow she knows how to Force pull all of a sudden. Even if we want to put those things aside, the way it was filmed, the cinematography of that scene, the way she was looking, the drift, and it was bad. Either way you cut it, so let's just agree on that. And then it's also the fact that, of course, we know Carrie Fisher is dead, God rest her soul. But it's like, the moment she died, why would they decide to leave her character alive in the film? And I know that might sound disrespectful. And I know you guys may be saying, well, they kept her in because they didn't want to cut her scenes out because that would be kind of disrespectful to her. Look, she would understand. She would understand, right? But the problem this presents is that, Princess Leia is alive in the movie, but her actress is dead. So therefore, in episode 9, it's going to be weird. It's going to feel weird because we know in episode 9, Princess Leia is not going to be able to be on screen because she is dead in real life. So the resistance has dwindled down to like 40 people, right? And this next episode, I'm assuming, is going to have to be centered around the revival or the rebuilding of the resistance, right? So surely Leia should be there, but Carrie Fisher is dead, so it's like she can't be. So they're gonna have this really integral movie about rebuilding the resistance, but they're not gonna be able to have the resistance leader make an appearance. You know? I just feel like when she got blasted out into space, they should have maybe edited to where she just died in that scene. Or instead of the general with the purple hair, I forget her name, they should have had Leia stay behind, and they should have had Leia do the light speed kamikaze. That would have made more sense because that would solve two birds with one stone, right? It gives Han Solo died in the last movie, and then Leia could sacrifice herself, and then Carrie Fisher is dead, and so that was a good way to just kind of get Princess Leia out of the picture, right? But they decided to keep her alive, so it's like, what are they going to do in the next movie? Last thing I want to talk about is Luke himself. A lot of people say character assassination. And I won't really get into all that. Yeah, Luke was kind of a little bitch or whatever. And a lot of people try to say, oh, well, Yoda and Obi-Wan went into exile too. Okay, but for completely different reasons, right? Obi-Wan and Yoda were getting hunted down, okay? Order 66 was going down when they were around. Luke had nothing like that. Luke had no opposition. He left solely because his nephew went bad and his nephew killed a few of the Jedis that he was teaching, and he left. Yoda and Obi-Wan were actually forced to not stick around because if they did, they literally would have died. Yoda tried to assassinate the Emperor because he had the element of surprise because they all thought all the Jedi were dead. When Yoda walked into the room, he was like, "Oh, Master Yoda, you're alive," So that shows that Palpatine thought he was dead. So that's why Yoda used that opportunity to try to kill Palpatine. But once Yoda failed, he had to go away because there's no way he was going to get back into the city and do all that and try to fight Palpatine again. That wasn't going to happen. He wouldn't be able to live. So he was like, I failed. That was our last chance of beating the Emperor. So, I got to go. Obi-Wan, again, of course, they knew he was alive as well. Order 66. And he also left to also watch over Luke. Don't forget that he was watching over Luke on that planet, albeit from afar and under an alias, but he was still watching over Luke. So Yoda and Obi-Wan did not leave for the same reasons that Luke left. Don't try to equate that. Luke leaving was a little bit BS and definitely not like his character because Luke was always, the young and hopeful Jedi or whatever, and then all of a sudden he's this old pussy, you know, for lack of a better term. Um, but also did not like the whole thing they did with Luke at the end. Him not actually being there just made Luke feel incredibly unimpactful to the movie. And to me, it wasn't a satisfactory conclusion to that character. I mean, this whole time, we're like, oh man, surely Luke is so powerful. I can't wait to see him in action because surely they're going to give us some action scene with Luke. We're going to see the Last Jedi Master do some, high level, master level Jedi stuff. I mean, we saw an ability, but it wasn't like an offensive one or anything like that. He wasn't actually there. It was just astral projection, basically. He just projected an image of himself across the universe, and that was basically it. But I think it was a huge missed opportunity to not have Luke actually physically show up there and fight Kylo Ren. And for two reasons. One, of course, like I said, it led to Luke still technically not doing anything and it not being a satisfactory conclusion to his character. But two, again, the theme of missed opportunities, which is another thing I brought up earlier, it was another missed opportunity to actually have a lightsaber battle in this movie. Guys, a Star Wars movie did not have a lightsaber battle. This movie did not have lightsabers clashing a single time. That is insane. That's the whole point of a Star Wars conclusion is who's going to be fighting each other this time, right? What is going to be the lightsaber fight? That's what we look forward to in the Star Wars movie is the lightsaber fight, and there wasn't one. But what makes it worse, like outside of the fact that there wasn't one, is that they had an opportunity to implement one in the first place. You see what I'm saying? And with two great characters that would have made for a really great fight. An old man Luke? Like, surely he knows some crazy stuff, right? Surely he's like super powerful, really strong or something. I can't wait to see him do some crazy Jedi stuff or something. But no, they just give him astral projection. He's not really there. And then he dies for no reason. Or, well, the reason is technically, oh, he used too much force power or he did a really taxing Jedi ability and so he couldn't keep his physical form. Just stupid force death. A lot of just force things. A lot of force things in this movie. Stupid force death. you know, when all the walkers were shooting at him, whatever, and he just kind of walked down. He did like he brushed his shoulder off. I was like, oh snap, you know, because I thought Luke was there at the time, and a lot of people were like, well, it wouldn't have made sense if he was actually there because he would have just died right there. Like he's a Jedi Master. I don't know if you guys look into the other materials, but there are such thing as force fields. You know, you could use a force to, like shield yourself. So I was thinking, oh, maybe he's shielding himself from the blast using a force shield or something, right? Vader has done that on multiple occasions, right? Maybe he used some master Jedi trick that only someone of his experience, you know, could know, or whatever. And so, see what I'm saying? Like, so after seeing him like brush his shoulders off and thinking he literally just brushed off a barrage of walkers firing on him, we're like, oh snap, Luke is actually a badass, and he's like getting tired of this shit. Oh, he's about to go in. He's gonna like take down a walker or something and injure Kylo Ren. Or no, he wasn't even there. So it's like they did this kind of build up to like, oh, holy crap, Luke is here, but then he wasn't there. You know, so it's like that was almost done intentionally. And then when they're like, oh, well, our message got out, but no one's coming, no one responded. And then Leia's like, the galaxy lost hope. And then Luke walks in. That was also exciting. But then that just being an actual projection of him ruins both of those scenes, right? It makes those scenes lose the impact that they had because those were great scenes. Luke walking in after Leia saying the galaxy has lost its hope, and then Luke walks in as a literal symbol of hope. That was great. But then it's like he wasn't there. So now that scene was meaningless, right? It was pointless. It didn't have the power that we thought it initially had. Luke coming out of the barrage, brushing off his shoulders, and Kylo saying, "Bring me down to him. I'm gonna fight this dude." Like I was like, "Oh, holy crap! Yeah, this is gonna be great." Ended up not mattering. Ended up not having the potential impact it could have because Luke wasn't actually there, and we ended up not getting a lightsaber battle. It would have been great if Luke just fought Kylo Ren. I know he probably wouldn't have killed him, but of course, Luke would have probably allowed himself to get killed by Kylo or something like that. Or Luke should have just I don't know, bought him time, injured him, then ran back with the Resistance or something, so we could have him in the next movie. He can continue training Rey or something. I don't know, but I think just Luke was a huge, huge waste of character potential in this movie. But that's pretty much everything I want to discuss. I know this is an incredibly long video. Hopefully, you guys don't mind watching it all. But those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think down below. This was sorely disappointing. Hopefully, episode 9 is a lot better. I know it's going back to J.J. Abrams, I believe. So let's see what he does. But very disappointing overall, and objectively, undeniably, just chock full of problems with the plot and the storyline and the characters, and that just cannot be denied. But that's it this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see y'all later.